All right. Good evening, everyone. Um, my name is Kuda. Welcoming you to the first of many lectures in information management. So, I'm the tutor that is responsible for this module also, and today, uh, it's going to be an introductory lecture. Um, an introductory lecture where you just have an idea of how I deliver the content for this module. Let me just put a disclaimer first. This module is a theoretical module, right? So I think maybe for some of you guys that attended uh, the um, the statistical techniques module. I think you saw that I'm also taking that module, but that module it's it is more like mathematical, right? So the approach that we're going to take also for this module is going to be a bit different. The fact that this is a theoretical module. However, since this is IT related, and I know maybe some of you guys might not even have, might not understand also IT systems in detail. I'll try by all means to give real life scenarios where applicable so that you can understand where some of the concepts that we are studying, where they do apply in real life. So you maybe here and there you see me give you like a real life scenario, maybe of some of the things that are actually happening, or maybe some of the things that have already happened. So that's how we're gonna uh, do it in this module also. And also just feel free if you have any questions, just feel free to unmute at any point so that maybe I can clarify the point that I'm supposed to maybe the point that I was explaining at that particular I'll be explaining at that particular moment. So in terms of let's say things related to the manner, how much you're supposed to pay and so forth, please just get a hold of James. He's the one who is responsible for that. So today I'm just assuming that all of you already know the maybe the amount of money that are supposed to be paid for the module and so forth. If you don't, please just get a hold of James. Be after this lecture is done. All right. So let me share. Um, okay, just give me a moment. I think let me share, and then we can start. With right. Let's see. All right. So, so like I said, my name is Kuda. I'll be taking you for information management. So we want today, it's just an introductory lecture, but we are already, getting into the module guide itself. So the approach that I'm going to use for this module is I will go subsection by subsection. All right. So I'm not just giving you an overview of what, let's say, a section is talking about. We actually go subsection. So we go per unit, right? Then for each unit, we go each and every subsection. I have slides for that. So we are going to cover everything in, in terms of, so let's start by defining what we call information system. So the reason why we are starting by defining information system is because basically this module, it could have been called information systems, right? But your lecturer just chose, maybe the university just chose it to be called information management. So basically what you're doing, you are managing information, right? But in workplace, the only way that you can manage this information is when you have systems in place, right? That's why at your workplace, you work with computers, with softwares in them and things like that. So information management, basically you're managing the information that your company or your organization deals with day to day, of which that information you use IT infrastructure to, to handle it. Right. So information system, basically, it is a set of interrelated components, right? Which collect, which process, which store, and provide a distribution of information to allow for decision making, coordination, and even providing control in the company. So as long as there's information that is flowing, right, within the company, then information systems is used now to collect, to process, to store, or whatever you want to do with that same information. So information systems, basically, they are made up of data and information. So there is actually difference between data and information, right? So information is data which has been converted or transformed into meaningful facts. So sometimes you can have data. Data might not even make sense, right? But information is where you make the data make sense. So that is the difference between the two. So information systems, basically, they have three main activities that surrounds information systems. So you have what we call input, you've got what we call a process, then we have an output. So like your computer, for example, right? When it is dealing with information, you type in, let's say maybe you type in on the keyboard or maybe using a mouse. So that is input. Then behind the scenes, the CPU processes that information. That's the process activity. Then your screen shows you what's happening, right? Or the output, which is your output there, right? So input, basically, it collects the raw data, right? Then processing, it transforms that raw data into meaningful facts. Then output will transfer what has been processed so that you can use it in whatever you want to do. Then there is another hidden activity which is called feedback, where with the output from the information that comes out of the output, it can also be put back again in the input, so that it can provide more like a feedback loop, right? So basically, that is information systems. So now let's get to unit 1.2.1. So what are information systems so essential for running and managing a business today? So why are we, as managers, why are you concerned about using information systems? Why? Why should we, be concerned about information systems? So let's look at how information systems are transforming business. So basically, businesses today, they heavily rely on connectivity to the internet and wireless networks. So I think most of you guys, you can attest that when you are working, right, at your various and respective organizations, most of the time, whatever you are doing, you are using the internet. You are using your laptop. You might not be using your laptop, but you might be using, let's say, yeah, a gadget somewhere. So it can be a tablet. So smartphones, cell phone, tablet, computers, they have become essential tools for business operation. So now, most of the businesses now, if you check, they've got what we call an online presence, right? And some of them, if they are selling goods or services, sometimes they can offer e-commerce, services also. So we have internet sites that allow businesses to reach customers online, right? That's why you see, when you're on Facebook or maybe on YouTube, right? You see a lot of adverts coming through. Those are businesses that are trying to reach customers online, right? E-commerce has grown significantly, enabling businesses to advertise and reach new web-based customers. So back, a couple of years back, people used to go, let's say if they wanted to buy something, they had to physically go to the store. Nowadays, it's not the case, right? You might even spend time without even going to the mall, going to a shop, and still get the essentials that you want, right? Because of e-commerce. Now, one of the other reasons why businesses need information systems is because of efficiency and cost reduction. So information systems, they help businesses operate more efficiently by eliminating overhead costs, right? So computers make things easier. Where someone was going to do things manually and was going to be paid more money, right? If you do certain things in an automation, costs are covered. At the end of the day, companies are there to maximize profit, right? And to reduce costs. That's what companies are all about. I think some of you guys are into management, right? Or maybe you are aiming for a management position. So obviously, these are one of the things that how can we minimize cost? How can we maximize profit? Right? Then the other thing is real-time inventory management through information systems streamlines operations. So obviously, if you have, let's say you're a company that you've got inventory, right? So if you implement information systems that can track, it will be easier for you to track than having people that manually do so. So that's another advantage that we see there. Now let's look at, so we have defined what information systems is. Now let's define what information management is. So the reason why we started by defining information systems, we can't have information management without information systems. So the foundation of information management itself, it is information systems. So information management, basically, it is the process of collecting, storing, managing, and maintaining information in all its form, right? So if you manage it, then that is what is called information management. So it covers procedures, guidelines that organizations or companies adopt, either to manage or to communicate information among different individuals, departments, or stakeholders, right? So this information management now in systems that are designed to help the company use its resources to support business processes. So like I said, you can't have information management with. Let's look at also, what's happening, with let's say the environment that allows also, companies to implement, this type of systems. So there's what we call changing consumer habits, right? Nowadays, you can see, I can give an example that, buy newspapers, go and buy magazines, go and buy novels and whatever, right? But nowadays, because of the advancements of technology, you don't need to buy like a physical newspaper anymore, right? Access news online, like your news 24, right? So online banking preferences over traditional in-branch services. So you can see that these are what we call changing consumer habits. All right. So back then, people used to go like physically to go and do like what do you call it? Traditional in branch services, right? Some people maybe would go in to withdraw. Some people would go in maybe to check a balance. What nowadays, if you've got a mobile app, you are able to do that. Sometimes people don't even, I don't know, maybe there might be people who don't even know the last time when they handled, like, went to the ATM to withdraw cash, like physical cash. Because nowadays, you can swipe with your virtual card. People, they can tap using their phones. They can, even with the card, you can still tap with your card. So you can spend, a while without even going to the bank. Nowadays, I think going to bank is, if it's something that you can't do on the phone, right? That's when you have to go there physically. Now let's look at social media for business. So now we are also seeing social network platforms like Facebook, your Twitter, which is now called X, your LinkedIn, which are used for business marketing, right? Customers now, they are free to share experiences. They can create opportunities for business to engage with their audience. So you can see now that for businesses nowadays, it's very, very important for a business to have a social media, right? You can actually see companies like employ people for digital marketing, like literally spends money for people that are marketing digital, right? So it's actually now a thing. So now let's look at the impact of information systems on business and careers, right? So businesses in all industries, they are affected by information system. I think there's no more business uh, these days that is not affected by by information systems, right? Even if it's a small business, as long as they're gonna use phones or a laptop, as long as they are going to use anything which is electronic, that's an information system. So I think all the business nowadays they are integrating information systems within their companies. So so now business information systems now they provide what we call opportunities for growth and is it what and efficiency, right? So now let's look at the next subunit, which is what is new in management information system, right? So let's address that subunit by these slides that are coming through. So let's look at the impact of new technology changes, right? So new hardware and software technologies, they create a new computing or media platform, right? So I think you've seen that each and every year, right? These IT companies, not IT companies, yeah, these companies that produce these technologies, your hardware technologies, your software technologies, each and every year they upgrade their products, right? So when new technologies are released, managers basically they want to leverage that technology. So the reason why they leverage it is because it can help with work coordination, it can help with employee communication, it can also help with decision making, right? So there is also now that need for managers to be, to be very aware of what is happening around them. If there are any technological changes around them, they need to be aware of that because it's gonna affect also the way that they do business. Because sometimes if managers, right, or businesses, they take a while to respond, it might actually affect how they perform in terms of whatever they are offering. Right. So now let's look at enhancing collaboration with technology. So basically, technology enables employees to collaborate effectively, like what we're doing right now, right? I don't know where all of you are, right? But we are actually having this type of a lecture on a laptop, right? So Zoom, you just join, and then wherever you are able to engage to whatever we are doing right now. So it's because of that technology, right? Because of the internet, because of the laptop, because of the software, right? So even if there's a geographical barrier or separation, employees can still work as a team or projects. So this we saw it in the time of COVID, right? Before COVID, people will be like, we go to work physically. Then COVID came. COVID showed people that, hey, you can still work when you are at home, right? Nowadays, companies are now implementing it, right? So they will tell you we are doing what is called a hybrid program. So 3-2, 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. So for you, actually, you don't know that these companies are actually clever because let's say a company that was renting business premises, right? And they were paying so much on rent. Then there's, oh, okay, so we can actually allow people to work from home and still be productive. Actually, when people work from home, they are actually more productive. The reverse actually takes place because people tend to say, you know what, if people work at home, people are not going to be productive. But actually, studies have shown that if people work from home, they're actually more productive. Why? Because remember, when you are at home, you are not going to, when you go to work, you wake up early and then you go and bath, and then maybe if you have a car, you want to beat traffic jam, right? If you are using public transport or maybe whatever transportation that you are using, right? You need also to cater for traffic. But when you're working at home, you don't have the struggle. You can still work without bathing. No one will know, right? There's no traffic to beat, right? In the morning and in the evening when you're coming back. So that time where you would have maybe were bathing, eating your food and making preparation to get into the car and driving and wara, you would have already started working. So normally the productivity, uh, companies are embracing it. And thanks to the technology, it doesn't care where you are, right? So even if people can live kilometers away, they are still the employees that can still work as teams on the project, right? And now to add on that, there's another technology that companies are embracing, which is called cloud computing. We're going to talk about it in detail later on, right? Cloud computing, where companies they'll be say, okay, so for you to be able to access certain information, we're going to store it on the cloud. So they might use Google Cloud, or maybe they can use AWS, Amazon Cloud, or they can use Microsoft Cloud, depending with the preference of the company. So let's look at cloud computing itself. So basically, when we're talking about cloud computing, we are talking about an offering of digital platform for businesses, right? So instead of, let's say, okay, so let me explain it in this way. I don't know how big your company is, but big companies, what they do is let's say a company that is into banking, right? Or a company that is into financial services, right? This company specializes in giving financial products. But you come to find out that they will have a dedicated department called IT department, right? These guys are responsible for your internet, to check if the laptops are working and things like that, right? In the IT department, they will have what is called a data center. So a data center, that's where you will have your website, your web, your servers, where let's say your emails for work, they're stored, your website is stored, your data, all those things that are crucial for your work, they are stored there. So if you go home, you will not have access to what? To your data center. So let's say if now people are working, let's say if people are working from home, you would want people to have the same access of the same information that they would get when they would be at work physically. So now cloud computing, now what it does is it creates what is called a virtual data center. So instead of having a physical data center where you go into a department and you have all these machines, that are there that store whatever, a company will talk to a service provider like Amazon. Then they'll say, you know what, we're going to rent computers from you that are accessible from anywhere as long as the person has got internet. Then the same information that was in the physical data center is then moved into the cloud. So that's why they're saying it offers a digital platform for businesses, right? So what cloud computing basically does, it enables outsourcing of work, right? And it adds value to the company, especially when it comes to, remote working, right? So it facilitates interactions with customers, suppliers for product development and upgrades. So basically, companies now are embracing the digital platform, right? Because you can see businesses are heavily relying on the digital platform for various activities, right? So be it computers or mobile devices through the internet, you can see that the business is now being done through those conduits, right? So in basic terms, digitalization has opened what we call new avenues for growth and efficiency for businesses. Now, let's look at what we call dimensions of information management. So there are pillars. There are three pillars in which that literally holds information management. So they are called dimensions. So if you get a question that says what are the dimensions of information systems, then this is what we are talking about, right? So basically, the first pillar is an organization. You cannot have an information system without an organization. It has to be used in somewhere, right? So the whole purpose of an information system being designed, it has to be used somewhere. So the organization itself is a pillar, right? And then you can't have an organization without the people, right? So there has to be people within an organization that will use the information systems. But at the same time, again, people in the organization without the technology, you won't be able to use, because basically we're not talking about information systems, we're talking about softwares, a normal software like your Zoom, right? Your Zoom is like an information system which is used for collaborating, right? So you will need infrastructure, IT infrastructure. On top of that, you need the people that will use the IT infrastructure, right? And you need the people who use the IT infrastructure in an organization. So that's why it's called they're called the dimensions of information systems. So let's look at each dimension, each pillar in detail. So let's start with what? With organization. So the key elements of an organization basically is the people. Like I said, you can't have an organization without the people. But it goes beyond the people, right? So you have what we call the structure of the organization, right? So depending whether they are using a hierarchical structure or they are using a horizontal structure, right? This is management, basically. Then business processes. How do they do their processes as a business? The politics of an organization. Organizations have got politics, right? Right. Then there's what we call the culture, right? Organizations have got different done, right? Why? That's how it's done. Don't ask business. Don't ask like any questions, right? So basically, an organization coordinates coordinates work through a structured hierarchy or a formal standard operating procedures. So now, the other thing that you need also to understand is each organization has got a unique culture, right? A fundamental set of assumption, values, ways of doing things, and those things also can actually be affected by the information systems that they are using. Now let's look at the people. So information systems will be useless if there are no skilled personnel to build or to maintain the information system or even to use the information systems, right? And one thing that you need to understand is when companies are buying a IT infrastructure, it's unlike humans, right? People will be like, hey, there's a new phone I need to buy, right? People just buy, like, yeah, it's the latest phone I need to buy. It's the latest phone I need to buy. Companies don't do that, right? That's why you see you can go to companies. Nowadays, we have got Windows 11. You get in the company where they are using Microsoft XP, Windows XP, be like, what's happening here? Right? Because it's working for them. There's no need for them to upgrade, right? So what happens with companies is companies invest in IT to achieve business objective. As long as the IT infrastructure is helping them to achieve business objective, then that's fine. There's no need for them like, yeah, there's a latest Windows. Who cares? As long as we're gonna get whatever we want to get in terms of achieving business objectives. Yeah, that's what is very important. So people now helps to do that because now without people, you won't be able to use IT infrastructure to meet those organizational goals, right? So now, then the third thing is your technology. So we have the organization, we have the people, now we have the technology. So basically, when you're talking about technology, this is the infrastructure that is needed, right, for the information systems to function. So part of the infrastructure itself is what we call computer hardware. When you're talking about computer hardware, you're talking about the physical equipment or computing devices that are used for input, storage, processing, output, telecommunication, and so forth. As long as it's something that is tangible that you can touch on a computer, it's called hard. That's why it's called hardware. Something that you can touch, right? Then we've got software, computer software. Now, this you can't touch it. These are your application, basically. That's your computer software, an application, right? Then you have your data management software. So this software basically it governs the organization of data on physical storage media, right? Then you've got your networking and telecommunications technology. This is your routers. How do you access internet or how do you transfer information from one device to another? Then you've got your computer network, right? So obviously, for you to be able to transmit from one device to another, you need a network, a link, right? So a computer network link, it links two or more computers together to share data such as files, images, sound, video, and things like that, right? Then one thing that you need to know is the biggest, right? Computer network is what is called the internet. I think later on I'm going to explain to you how the internet work, right? What you call the internet. It's actually computers that are actually communicating together. So I think when we get there, I'm going to give you examples that will allow you to understand how the internet actually work. So what you call the internet is actually computers talking to one another. If the other computer gets for some reason is not reachable, you won't be able to get that information that you want. So when you go on, we'll be like, yeah, I'm on the internet. Let me go on google.com. You're actually communicating with a computer at Google. So if that computer is down, right, you won't be able to access the internet. That's why sometimes we'll be like, guys, YouTube is down, right? YouTube is down, or maybe X is down, right? Or your Twitter, right? So sometimes it's not the network. It's actually that something has happened in their servers, the computers. But like I said, we're going to talk about it in detail when we get to talk about the internet in detail, so that we explain how it works. So now let's look at the problem solving information system related problems. All right. So when people use information systems, basically they want to solve a problem. Like I said, companies they don't invest money in buying IT infrastructure just for fun, like us humans. There's a new phone, right? No, companies don't do that, right? When they buy infrastructure, it means there's a problem that they're trying to solve. Because companies they don't want to fork out money; they want to preserve money as much as they can, right? So there is now what they call a four-step method for business problem solving, right? So the first stage is you define the problem. Second is you generate new ideas. Then the third, you evaluate and select a solution. And then when you have selected the solution, you need to implement it and evaluate how it works. So let's look at the first stage, which is problem identification, right? So when you have a problem, you need to identify, understand the problem at hand, right? Then you properly define the problem, its causes, and then you gather information through interviews and analysis. Then when you have gathered the information about what is called a solution design, so you want to design now a solution for the identified problem. So what you do is you won't come up with a single solution at this moment. You come up with multiple solutions that may integrate your technology, your people, your organization, the three dimensions, right? But however, on the next stage, that's where you now evaluate different solutions to select the best one. Not every solution is good, right, for implementation. So now, after you've generated a lot of solutions, now you need to choose which one is which, right? So that's where you start to consider, okay, this solution might be cost effective, right? This solution, no, not cost effective. It can be costly, right? Wara, 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 wara. Then you start, to choose and to eliminate the others. Then you have to end up with a solution that best suits the business needs at the end of the day. When you have that solution, then you come to the fourth stage where you implement it. So when you implement it, right, the chosen solution in the business environment, basically now, because it's something new that you are introducing to the people, then you need to train them, right? So maybe it might be a new software. Like I said, when new softwares are being brought in, right? They would have done the problem identification, the solutions, and the choice of solutions. So they would have said, okay, so a new software is now the solution for this problem. So when the new solution, the new software comes in, people have got to be trained to use the new software or the new plan. Then, or the implementation of the solution is being done. there has to be change management techniques that have to be also put in play in place, because people are creatures of habit, right? People, they don't like change. If they see things changing, hey, we're gonna lose job, we're gonna lose job, right? So now the management have got to take anyone's, but we had seen a problem that we're trying to solve, right? So you are managing the change because people tend to resist change. Now let's look at how information systems will affect business careers, right? How information systems will affect business careers. So basically, an information system is a field of study which is changing and growing fast day by day. A couple of years ago, we were like in the dot-com era, the era of the internet. Now we are moving from the era of the internet, we are going into the era of AI. You see, things changing like in a short period of time, right? So the growth of businesses has led to a great demand for information systems to be developed to serve the business needs. So you will come to realize that careers also, they are evolving based on the changing of the field of information systems. So it can be accounting, it can be marketing, operations management, it can be of offshoring and outsourcing, management, right? All of them, right? They've got their careers are also being affected by, in a positive way, actually, by information systems. Like for accountants in business, they firms they rely heavily on information systems to help with producing a summary of transition, handling financial records, and things like that, right? Financial analysis and things like that. So nowadays you see, I don't know if there are people that have got a background of accounting, but I think in era before computer systems, people used to have like books. You could go into a store, you would buy a book called General Ledger. You buy a book called Cash Book, buy a book called Journal, what, and things like that, right? But nowadays, you have your payroll, or what do they call this? Sage. Is it? I don't know this software, right? Maybe I might be wrong actually. But they've got these um these accounting softwares, right? Where now accountants, someone was doing accounting, now is using a software to do that accounting, right? So now accountants now, when they are doing their degrees, they are now required to have knowledge of databases. But like, oh, we thought maybe IT guys are the ones that were supposed to know about databases, right? But now they are required to know, because a database, that's where that, like those physical books that they were buying, they are now put in a software. So they're supposed to put that information, instead of writing it in a book, they're writing it on a database, which is a software, right? They need to report, right? To generate reports. They need also network, which can be used to track these transactions and things like that, right? So they need also to use internet and things like that. Drastically changed, right? You remember, I think some of the guys do it. When you go to where I think your nearest malls, you might find people who are trying, to market to you something in person. They'll give you flyers, right? We are having this promotion, wara 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 wara. There was a time when that was what is called marketing. People had to go out and market to other people. But nowadays you rarely see it, because nowadays, most of the things that are now marketing is the social media itself, right? So marketing is undergone a drastic change, right? Because now companies are selling things online, right? And now there's what we call internet advertising. Yeah, right. Now we've got influencers now, right? People who's just spending all day on TikTok and is being paid millions for just doing that, right? Blame. This guy is on TikTok. I think one of the most followed guys on TikTok, if not the most followed, right? He doesn't talk. He's just there on TikTok. He's not talking. But he has like deals with your Nike, deals with these big companies. Because when he's doing his whatever he's doing on TikTok, He's showing labels. He's actually maybe promoting certain products. That's internet advertising. Because just imagine if you have got like a million, tens of millions of followers. If you just show them, a certain product, chances are half, if let's say half of the people are interested in that product, that's 5 million people. It's going to drive the sales up. So that's why you see even people be like, hey, nowadays, when you just go on Facebook, it's internet. It's adverts, YouTube adverts. It's internet advertising, right? Because it's cost effective. The amount of money that they spend in giving you ads on your phone, it's less than sending people on the street, right? So companies, like I said, they always want to save money. So also marketing now, what is happening is people from marketing also, maybe they might need to understand interacting with a database, right? Because sometimes, they need to know their products. So they need maybe to have also some knowledge in terms of databases. And also sometimes people now, if the product is not good, the performance, people give feedback on the like on the social media. So there has to be someone on the Facebook all the time, right? When a customer is not happy, hey guys, I bought this. Hey, what are you guys are doing fake things? What? Someone has got to do uh, to try to contain that damage. Because if they don't contain it, other people will be like, so the products are not good, right? So now they're spending more time on the internet also as part of marketing, right? And now also they have what they call customer relationship management systems, right? Where there are certain systems within marketing that are designed to deal with customers. That's why you see sometimes when you are calling, let's say whatever you're calling, they'll say, please just hold one of our available agents will get back to you. That's customer relationship management, right? So they've got call centers now, companies. They've got call centers to just deal with customers. Now there's operations management. So operations management, let's say in services, in manufacturing, they've employed also information systems to help everyday accomplishment of work. So basically, even if people are producing like physical devices, they'll still need computers. Because like back then, when people were, let's say people that design let's say people that design cars, right? People that are into engineering, what you call engineering. They used to draw those things by hand, literally. I don't know if you know anyone who did engineering. They do courses in what is called engineering drawing, where they would literally be taught how to draw. But nowadays they've got now softwares, right? Software where they can just download, right? And they, instead of drawing physically, now they can draw it on the what? On the laptop, even in 3D. That's why you see even those people that do architecture, they're able to show you like an estate, the whole estate in 3D, right? And you are able to see and things like that. It's because of the information system. It was not possible, I think, a couple of years ago, but because of information systems, it's now possible. Now, management, maybe that's where it might actually affect some of you guys. So information systems now they enhance productivity, they streamline business processes, right? So managers today they are using a variety of technologies to assist them in controlling the business. So as a manager today, most of the people they are they are actually um, employing information systems nowadays. Like nowadays people be like, hey, there's AI. Then you hear managers saying, I don't want people to use AI. I don't want people to use AI. That's not a solution, right? That's not the solution. AI is here to stay, and it's going to increase the capabilities and so forth. So it will actually be better if companies can actually embrace it earlier. Because companies that are going to embrace this kind of technologies will have what we call a competitive advantage. Right? So you wouldn't want as a company to embrace something later. Because later on I'm going to give you companies of when we talk about competitive advantage. I'm going to give you examples of companies that you know, right? That failed to really, stay in the market because they were like, nah, the changing of technology, we don't care about it. Our product is so strong. Down the line, they lost, a lot of customers, and the companies had to shut down, right? I think this is the last thing. Oh, this is not the last thing. Okay. So I think this should be one of the last things. So there's what we call outsourcing and offshoring opportunities. So let's say in a scenario where a company wants a software, right? So if a company wants software, there are, let's say, two things to do, right? It's either they can buy the software, or they can hire people that can develop the software, right? So sometimes people that can develop the software locally might be very expensive. So companies sometimes they can look for people who can create the what do you call it, these softwares from another country. So that's what outsourcing and offshoring opportunities come in, right? Like for example, the reason why you see, let's say, iPhones are made in China, or you, all these other phones are made in China, is because in China it's cheap to pay employees to produce the phone. All right. So it's more like outsourcing or offshoring. So basically, that's what outsourcing. It is best to outsource, uh, domestically or globally, depending on the business needs. So basically, these are the type of information systems that are used for the various, departments that we're talking about. If you're into management, you use what is called a management information systems. If you're into accounting, you use an accounting information system. If you're into marketing, you use marketing information system. If you're into HR, you use human resource information systems, and so forth, right? So some of these things we're going to talk about them in detail later on. But for today, that is all that I had for you guys. So like I said today, it was just to give you an overview of how, but we've already started unit one, right? So that is to show you how we are going to be, doing the other lectures that are going to come through. But like I said, today I didn't give like much of examples, because what we're talking about, it was just introduction. But later on, for those that are going to come through, you will see that we'll try to explain, some of these concepts, trying you to make sure that you are trying to show that you can understand some of these things from the things that are already happening around. So try to give real life examples so that you can understand it better. But I'm not so sure if there are any questions. I think maybe it was a very straightforward lecture, unless maybe someone has got a question. But if there are no questions, I think for tonight that would be all. But like I said, we for information management, we don't meet Thursday, right? We meet Tuesday, but it will be same time, all right? Tuesday, same time. I'm seeing hand raised. If that's a question, may you kindly unmute.
Oh,
Um,
evening, Kuda and team. I just wanted
if
to,
that if that was a raised hand.
yeah, it was a raised hand. You mentioned that you will later explain how internet works. Like when they mean that the internet is down. You said later. I don't know when you said later. You meant in this
Yes.
session, or you meant later on as we're doing other topics. I'm not too sure.
Oh, no, other topic. There's actually a section where we are going to talk about the internet in general. So that's when I'll go in detail. Because I didn't want to
Okay.
go into detail. Like I said, it was just an introduction, but there's a section where we are going to go in detail on the internet, yeah, but not today, but later on. All right. Okay. That was a very good question. That was a very, 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 because it's actually interesting, because there are scenarios that I would later give you, like a certain example when Google was down, like literally Google was down. Then I'll start to explain to you what happened and so forth, and how it shows that on the internet. It's actually computers that are communicating. But like I said, we're going to talk about it a bit later. I'm not so sure if there are any questions. Any questions, guys? Um, Even if it was something that we talked about, like I said, if you want me maybe to give examples of some of the things that we're talking about, it can be actually a very good question, maybe just to clarify certain things a bit further. But I don't think that there might be any more lectures. So thank you guys. Thank you for coming through. Like I said, don't forget this, right? For those that are going to come for information management, we meet every Tuesday, 7 p.m. For those that will come through for statistical techniques, we meet every Monday, right, at 7 p.m. This week it was only for introductory purposes, but from next week we are going to continue from where we left on the slides that we were doing this week. So thank you so much for coming through. Have a lovely evening and good night.
Thanks, Wanda.
All right, thank you.